Hello my fellow engineers. Today we're going to be talking about the RGE B790 Genoace. But before we dive into the Genoace itself, let's walk through the events that led to its development and why it was such a disaster from the start. There was a war called the Colony Nations War. It was a civil conflict between the space colony factions. The war ended under the Silver Chalice Treaty, which banned a range of wartime technologies and started a prohibition on mobile suits as weapons for any party except for the Earth Federal Forces. And after the treaty, there was no major conflicts until the arrival of Vegan. The treaty forced the Federation to stay legally compliant, banning the development of advanced mobile suits and weapons that were blacklisted in its terms. But it went even further. Not only were technologies and research discarded, but over time, entire generations simply, forgot how to build high-performance war machines. Now, the Genoace wasn't born from a purpose-built war program. Its core design started with the CMS 328 Desperado, a mobile worker meant for heavy labor but not combat, which that choice was deliberate. By basing the design on a mobile worker, the Federation could classify the machine as a civilian policing and utility platform unit, keeping it within the letter of the treaty. Even the Genoace's armor isn't truly military grade, but this had its advantages. Production was much easier because it was initially a modified Desperado, and plenty of third-party contractors already had compatible parts on hand. Repairs and maintenance were straightforward, and its simple design made it reliable and easy to field in large numbers. And why this worked out is because, mobile workers wasn't affected by the treaty. Genoace wasn't really considered a true mobile suit like those built before the treaty. It struggled against the Vegan mobile suits, which only use a small amount of the lost data. Even older mobile suits such as from Yuba and Salam outperformed the Genoace, showing just how limited it was compared to the pre-treaty designs. Now, within the constructs of the treaty, the Genoace was considered advanced. It was literally the best the Federation could produce at the time. Generations of peace meant engineers and pilots really didn't know how to fight Vegan, which is why the Genoace struggled for 15 years. Despite its limitations, it remained the Federation's most capable mobile suit for a long time. One of the main ranged weapons of the Genoace was the beam spray gun. It was a compact beam weapon that fired bursts of charged particles. Though a beam weapon, it lacked the power that it needed to penetrate any of the Vegan's mobile suit's armor. Now, I'm not trying to say the beam spray gun is useless, but it never shot down a Vegan mobile suit in the past 15 years. It could be used to distract Vegan mobile suits while evacuations are taking place. Or you just, use it to play laser tag with him. And speaking of useless, for close combat, the Genoace uses a heat stick. You heard me right. Not a sword, not a spear, a stick. It was stored inside of the shield, and it's about as long as the forearm of the Genoace. And at the very end was a sharpened point. But just like the beam spray gun, it had no effect whatsoever on Vegan mobile suits. And we all saw how that went. Now, the Genoace also had a shield mounted on the left forearm, which was the primary form of defense for the Genoace. It was lightweight, simple in design. It was enough to block some small arms fire or physical strikes, but it wasn't durable enough to sustain heavy beam attacks. And like we mentioned before, the shield also doubles as a storage mount for the heat stick. Now, for the time, the Genoace was one of the most advanced mobile suits. However, compared to Vegan mobile suits, it was still underpowered, undergunned, slower, and unable to gain a victory in the past 15 years. However, all that changed with the introduction of the H-1 Gundam. Now, I won't get into too much details of the H-1 Gundam, but the H-1 Gundam was officially the first mobile suit to defeat a Vegan unit in combat. This victory showed that the Federation finally had something that they could match and take out a Vegan unit. Now, what made the Gundam special wasn't the pilots, but it was his weapons. And one of those weapons is the Dutch rifle, which means drilling orbital discharge system. It's a high-powered beam rifle that used spinning compressed energy to pierce through Vagan's armor, something that the Genoace's beam spray gun cannot do. And the beam saber, which is a compact, high-output melee weapon powerful enough to cut through Vagan mobile suits, unlike the old heat stick. The simplified version of the Gundam's Age 1 Dutch rifle was called the Dutch gun. It was a mass-produced beam weapon based on the Gundam's original design. While it wasn't as powerful or precise as the Dutch rifle used by the Gundam, it was still a huge leap forward for the Federation. By AG-123, the original Genoace was already considered outdated, as the newer RGE B890 Genoace 2 became more widespread. The classic Genoace began to disappear. By AG-123, the Genoace was considered outdated. However, but because of its reliability and the Federation's limited resources, it was still deployed in various capacities until its full retirement by AG-140. But as for the Genoace 2, it served as the Federation's main mobile suit for nearly 5 decades. It was gradually phased out for newer models such as the Odell series. However, it remained in service for some time due to its proven performance. By AG-164, the Genoace 2 was completely retired. The Genoace O Custom was an upgraded Genoace 2 with enhanced mobility, sensors, and weaponry, as well as the latest technology. Its performance is said to rival that of the RGE G2100 Clancy. And that wraps up today's video. The Genoace is honestly one of my favorite grunt units in all of the Gundam franchises. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Gundam content. Farewell, my fellow engineers.